I'm just going to start talking because a lot of you are going to see this after the fact, and some of you might come in. But hi, it's Mission Man, and right now I'm working on a remix for "I Can Feel the Love." It's a song that I want to perform live, and I've been wanting to perform live for quite some time, but I no longer have the original music for it. It's a song that was originally a collaboration. CB Scaflights, they're a dubstep group, very small dubstep group, and I can't find their information for it anymore. Sent me an email saying they wanted to collaborate. And so eventually they emailed me a beat for me to rap over. It was a dubstep beat. And it's got like a deep bassy tone. And when I rapped over it, it's kind of a smoother style. And you know, because I don't have the original instrumental anymore, I decided to make a new version of it. And I started off with the original finished version and was trying to work from that, but because it had its own feel already, I decided to kind of start over in the process. And so I use my keyboard here as kind of a beat machine to use for guide drums. And so I started off with, you know, an early sound. Didn't really like that one, so I kept scrolling through. Until I found this one. And that beat kind of made me want to move a little bit, dance a little bit. And so I felt like that was a good starting point. And the chorus for the song goes, "I can feel the love, I can feel the love." And I will show you on this chromatic tuner here, just me naturally singing it. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. It's hard to keep track of in real time, but it went something like G, A, B, C, went up to D for a moment, then came back down to C. So I knew that I wanted to kind of use those notes a bit because that meant that was my natural singing range. And because I'm trying to get more into singing and become a better singer, I wanted to work with that on this particular song. So here you have the middle C, so I come down to G, but that's not the actual sound that I was using. Let's see if I can find that again. I believe it is, let's see, the voice was something like, oh, yeah, it's the funky electric piano. So because that was more or less what I was singing, I can feel the love, I can feel the love, I can feel the love, I can feel the love. That was kind of my starting point, was having a rhythm for that to go along with the drum beat. And since I found out those notes from the chromatic tuner, I wanted to have something to kind of match that. Because even though I've been making music for, rapping for 28 years and playing instruments for 21, 22, I'm always trying to improve. And I'm not classically trained, like I'm self-taught, so I kind of learned everything on my own and just kind of rolled with it and played what I thought sounded good. And generally speaking, I still play what I think sounds good. But in this particular case, I have a little bit more time to kind of work on some things. So I've been singing a lot lately, trying to improve my singing skills using the app Musician. I watched a YouTube video the other day, which I got that chromatic scale idea, and was just so I decided to sing and see what that natural range was for me and try to work with that. So once I knew what the notes were here, I went ahead and got on the bass guitar as well. And let me see if I can find it on here or not. I looked up an image of a 6-string bass to see what the chords were, or to see what the notes were on a 6-string bass, because I wanted to make sure I was playing the same notes. I could have eventually done it by ear and just be like, oh yeah, that all sounds right. So it was this actual image right here is the image that I used to make sure that I was, with the same notes and everything. So let me see if I can just open this there we go. Open image, new tab. So I was using these notes here. See how well you can see that. Hopefully it focuses. But because I know, I know it was G, A, B, and G, A, B, C, the basic ones is really G, G, A, G, G, A, A, B, G, G, A, B, C, G, G, A, A, B, G, G, A, B, C. I wanted to make sure that the bass was the same as the keyboard in this case, because with the singing in the chorus, I wanted to make sure that I had, had it harmonious as possible. But I didn't want to just go with one note. So the entire time I was also here. I was consistently hitting, what is this, E? I think it's the lower D, but it's because I don't have complete mastery of what note is what at this point. I still have to refer to things a lot, but I wanted to have an underlying note the whole time to go with it instead of just being a single note. And so I went from there. I will bring you over to the actual recording right now so that you can see what that looks like so far. Let's see how well you can see that computer from here. So I'm over here in Reaper. This is the actual song that I have so far. But with playing the bass, I have two different parts here with the bass. First, I have the chorus bass. And if I just solo that, you can kind of hear it a little bit better. And I did that because I'm singing the chorus instead of just rapping like I do through the verses. And I don't hit all of the same notes on the bass as I hit on the keyboard. I'm hitting more notes on the keyboard than I am on the bass. But then you get into the verse bass, and it gets a lot more steady kind of rhythm that you can just kind of groove along to. So when you get it all combined,
I will overcome this writer's block as I fight this clock and fit time to the tightest spot. Mine is not the story that you normally hear. Time to open the hearts with warming for ears. I won't give you a cold shoulder as I grow older. I just had to let the ice melt and show you how I felt. And use my passion to make all this happen. For almost 20 years I've been rapping. It never matters if I'm better battle.
It kind of makes me want to dance, which is the point.
I was taking a swing with a glimmer in my eye, so it shoots up so high. That's why the fire never simmers on the side. It always burns full seeds of your dreams. Wrong because I too, but now true when I say it's the way I play. Makes me feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love.
And that kind of gets me caught up now to where we are currently.
Short time to lay it all on the line. See if I can make it live with my mind.
And from here, now you're going to be more of a fly on the wall for most of it. If you do have a comment, I will check periodically. But I want to kind of do the same thing for the guitar. Let me make sure that you're actually kind of in a position where you can see what I'm doing a bit better. Of course, the first step to that is plugging the guitar in, tuning it, because I've already done the bass, and of course finding my pick, which sometimes finding my pick is a challenge because I'm not consistent with where I put it. Sometimes I leave it on the counter, sometimes I leave it in strings. Sometimes it gets buried in all these notes. So this is the part of the video that I was unprepared for. So the one person that's watching right now is like, what's happening? What's happening is I'm looking for my guitar pick. Sometimes I have an extra one here, but I don't think that's the case right now. I know where my spare one is, so I'll be right back. And tuning by ear is not something I've ever picked up. So I do still use a tuner app. It's tuning by ear. The people who can do it, it's always amazing to me. And there's a reason it's called a process. Sometimes that's exactly what it is. So I also want to, I kind of want to make sure that I'm using at least some of the same notes on the guitar that I was using on the bass. And again, I don't have, I know that it's E, A, D, G, B, E on the open strings, but I don't have every single note on the scale memorized, or on the frets memorized. So in this case, I actually am going to look up 6-string notes, string guitar notes. Normally I don't do this. Normally I don't actually look up specific notes and everything because, like I said, I just play what sounds good, and generally speaking, I'm not overly concerned if it's atonal or discordant or you know, not all the same key or whatever. But for this particular song, at least for the chorus, I want to make sure that it is embellishing my natural singing range as much as possible, and because as I improve my singing, that will become more and more important to me. All right, it's actually on the first string in this case. All right, so at least I know that those are the notes that I kind of want to start with having in there in some way. So it could be, you know, this chord. Or or I could just make sure that I stay on G. So I've got a good range of ideas what I want, and I'm just gonna hit play and start playing things that I think sound good and go along with it.
Oh, look. All overcomes right as block as a fight's clock. Fit time into the tightest spot. Mine is not the story that you
I think I want to be funkier.
and a hard way up for years. I won't give you a cold shoulder as I grow older. I just had to let the ice melt, show you how I felt. Use my passion to make all this happen. For almost 20 years I've been rapping. It never matters if I'm better battle when the record shatters. So long as I have respect for the game. When I step to the plate, people expect my name. Thought I left how I came. I was taking a swing with a glimmer in my eye, so I shouldn't slip so high. That's why the fire never simmers on the side. It always burns to go smooth. Feel free and strong as I do, but not true when I say it was the way I play. Makes me feel like I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. Toward time to lay it all on the line. See if I can make a living off my mind and rhymes. See if time's kind if I have to rewind time. The glory of days, so I can ignore the ways and the mistakes in the past and make it last. Sleeping in my car, I don't care if I'm a star. I'm just doing what I love, and that's more than enough. Overcome the rising eyes and see the eyes and eyes. Watch the spark grow to a fire light. They can see that my desire is right, so they spare what they can with the love in hand. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. Sometimes I feel like I'm living the life of the Jedi without the ability. Silly me trying to see if I can move out of my mind and find the strength to lift the shift in the dirt. So we can remove the sits from the earth. I'm back in my hometown of what I know now. Was able to slow down and back with my friends and begin again. Feeling the record spin and then feeling my heart beat. Lighting the way down the dark street. Letting my memories guide my way. There's no way they'll die today. I'm so happy that I might stay until my passion comes back to the room. Eventually I'll be back on tour, but I know now I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I know now 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 I can feel the love.
So, this is something I will specifically point out, as you probably saw me staring at those notes on that image. That has slipped down. So I'm getting the basic riff on the keyboard and the bass is G, G, A, B, G, G, A, B, C. And that'd be okay with one note. So G, G, A, B, G, G, A, B, C. Cool, all right. But I kind of like the, I want to have the G there. So I've got the, so you have the G here and the A here as a chord, just Yeah, so I have a live question here from John, which for people watching this later, you won't see the answer. You won't see the actual live questions because of the way this is set up. But John asked me how long have I been playing the guitar. I've been playing for about 22 years, but I'm self-taught. I've only recently started kind of learning chord names and note names and things like that because I've always just kind of played what I thought sounded good. But for this particular song, I wanted to try to be in the same key, the same notes, especially for the chorus. So I was looking at creative ways to do it, and G, G, A, B, G, G, A, B, C, which I actually have a sheet here, or an image there to kind of give me that reference. Those are the same notes that are used as the basic riff in the chorus of the song, but individual notes, it's just not that strong. I really want a chord to have behind it, so. So G still being the root note, A here, so. G, G, A, B, G, G, A, B, C. I think that sounds a lot better, so that's what I'm going to go with. And I might even run it through I might run it through the funk pedal, through the wah pedal. The bass is definitely easier to play. You don't really have chords a whole lot in bass, but you can get very advanced with it. I mean, you can get into slap bass and funk bass and all sorts of things. So the basics of the bass are easier, and I think even the hardest stuff, the guitar is still going to be more advanced, more complicated than the bass, but you can get into some serious bass playing. You know, Flea being the most common famous one, but you can look at any number of funk basses, you know, look at Bootsy Collins, and see just how far you can take that and just how much you can challenge yourself with it. But if you're wanting to start on one or the other, the bass is probably easier to start with. And then you have a bunch of concepts that transfer from the bass to the guitar and vice versa. I'm going to plug in my funk pedal to see if I want to add a little bit of wah to this. Means, of course, I now have to take this out of here, plug this into the input. Instrument on the right. I'm very left-right oriented, so the fact that I plug the instrument in on the right side of the pedal is still something I have to think about. Because it's backwards are the obvious way to me. one of the other things about this particular riff that I'm working in here is octaves. So on a guitar, this note is this note's a G. This note is also a G, one octave higher. So when you play them together, it's, you know, a full octave. So by having that particular strum in there, I've got an octave as kind of the base, as the basis for it. It actually becomes a double octave because this string and this string also make an octave. So that's the riff that I'm going to go with for the chorus. I just need to insert the track here. Make sure the volume level's good. So that'll be my chorus part, and I'm just gonna play it until I get it right, and then move on to working on the bass, or on the verse. And that was slightly off, so I'm gonna redo it. It's also too quiet looking at it. Make sure this is all the way turned up as much as I can. Make sure, oh yeah, make sure I have the right input here. It needs to be on the right side because it's the guitar and not the vocal mic. That's much better.
I will overcome this writer's block as I fight this clock. If it
Save those. Just probably shrink this track a little bit. You can't completely see what's going on over here, but I'll bring it over here in a minute so that you can see what's going on. Actually, I'll bring it over right now so you can see the kind of shrinkage there that I have on that particular track. So if you look, that's just a big track. So, oh, just lost my guitar. It's the first time I've tried this particular process live, so it's really kind of an experiment for me too. This will probably be the only time I do something specifically like this, but I wanted to give it a shot in case people were interested in seeing the creative process in real time and kind of seeing where I've evolved as a songwriter at this point.
makes me feel alive. I can feel alive, feel alive. I
just a couple of strums.
Makes me feel alive. Makes me feel alive. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel. It's wrong because I do it not true when I say it's the way I play. Makes me feel alive. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. Tour time, time to lay it off. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. Sometimes I feel like I'm living the life of a Jedi without the ability, silly me trying to see if I feel my passion brings me back and forth. Eventually I'll be back on tour, but I know now I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I know now I can feel the love. I know now I can feel the love. I know now I can feel the love.
And then a lot of times when I'm part of the way through a song, I will change things up slightly. So I was going for the first half of the song, and then for the second half of the chorus, I was going instead of there's just a slight variation where I was going up and then I was going up, down, up instead of just continuously going up. So we'll see how that sounds once I listen to it again. But I think I like that little bit of variation in there. One, because I think the actual riff sounded cooler. The second way, two, because it gives variation for the song. And three, because it's neat sometimes to have, instead of, going together, they're kind of crossing each other. I'll do a little bit of that with the effects here too. After I finish the guitar, which will be pretty soon because I just need to come up with the first parts, I will walk you through what I've done with the effects, because it's been a very long time since I've done panning effects, but I've got a few of those in here that I will show you as soon as I'm done working on the verse, the guitar verse. And again, for this particular, when I'm creating a song, generally speaking, I don't write down much, if anything. In this particular case, because I was learning the riffs, the notes by letters, the riffs by letters, I do have this little GGAB, GGABC written down here. That's the only notes I have for the entire song written down. Everything else is in my head as far as what I'm doing, which means a lot of times later on, I won't remember any of it. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't, but because of the nature of the way I perform, I haven't always needed to. And when things get back to normal or normal-ish, and I'm able to tour again, if I have enough of a following that, you know, I'm bringing out big crowds and, you know, have a good sized audience, I'm gonna put a band together. And I know there are a ton of excellent musicians out there that'll pick up everything I'm playing by ear, or, you know, I'll remember enough of what I'm doing to tell people if they don't know, and they'll be able to figure it out. So that's my hope in the future, but that's an unknown time away at this point. But for my own sake, for recording, you know, I can just sit down and record it, and if I want to work on it later some more, I can. But you know, when the song's finished, I have it.
I will overcome the strongest block as I fight this clock. Fit time to the tightest spot. Mine is not the story that you normally hear. Time to open the hearts with more ears. I won't give you a cold shoulder as I grow older. I just had to let the ice melt, show you how I felt. Use my passion to make all this happen. For almost 20 years I've been rapping. It never mattered if it was a battle with the record shatters. So long as I have respect for the game and I step to the plate. With respect for the names that I left how I came. I was taking a swing with a glimmer in my eye till I shimmed so high. That's why the fire never simmers on the side. It always burns full season through dreams. Wrong as I do, and I'm true when I say it. The way I play makes me feel the
And the verse is a little easier because, you know, the bass I already had kind of figured out over there. And I think on that one I definitely have an octave going on the bass. I'm going to have that same octave going on the guitar. So I already know what finger position I'm going to be in. But the guitar, it's actually not going to change from the chorus to the verse, because the verse I still want it to be funky. And if I come down to the lower strings, it's just not, it doesn't have the same funk feel for me. So, so I'm just going to kind of play it through and find something that I like, and then just go ahead and record it.
I will overcome the strongest block as I fight this clock. Fit time to the tightest spot. Mine is not the story that you normally hear. Time to open the hearts with more for ears. I won't give you a cold shoulder as I grow older. I just had to let the ice melt, show you how I felt. Use my passion to make all this happen. For almost 20 years I've been rapping. It never mattered if it was a battle with the record shatters. So long as I have respect for the game when I step to the plate. With respect for the names that I left how I came. I was taking a swing with a glimmer in my eye till I shimmed so high. That's why the fire never simmers on the side. It always burns full season through dreams. Wrong as I do, and I'm true when I say it. The way I play makes me feel the
Yeah, so I think the guitar basically just wrote itself. I'm going to record it now.
I will overcome the strongest block as I fight this clock. Fit time to the tightest spot. Mine is not the story that you normally hear. Time to open the hearts with more for ears. I won't
Set up the wrong channel again. Currently have it recording in the mic, and it needs to switch over
I will overcome the starter's block as a fight spot. Fit time to the tight spot. Mine's not the story that you normally hear. Time to open the hearts with warm ears. I won't give you a cold shoulder as I grow older. I just had to let the ice melt. Show you how I felt. Use my passion to make all this happen. For almost 20 years I've been rapping. It never mattered if we were better battle when the record shadows. So long as I have respect for the game when I step to the plate. Respect for my name, so I let how it came. I was taking a swing with a glimmer in my eye, so I shouldn't slip so high. That's why the fire never slimmers on the side. It always burns full seas. Your dreams wrong as I do, but not true when I say the way I play makes me feel alive. I can feel alive. For time, I'm gonna lay it all on the line. See if I can make it with my mind around. See if time's count. I have to run around all the day, so you know what the ways, no mistakes in the past to make this last. Sleeping in my car, I don't care if I'm strong. There's no one I love, and there's more than I know. But because the rising times, I see that I'm not. Cautious about holding a fight, like they can see that my desire is right. So they spare what they can with love in hand. I'm on tour and I can feel the love. Jedi without the ability, silly me trying to see if I can move out of my mind, find the strength to lift this shift in the dirt, so we can root this fist from the earth. I'm back in my hometown, what I know now is everything is slowed down. I'm back with my writings to begin again, feeling the record spin, and feeling my heart lighting way down the dark street, letting my memories guide the way. There's no way they'll die today. I'm so happy that I might stay until my heart comes back from home. Eventually they'll be back on tour. But I know now I feel the love. I feel the love.
So yeah, that's it for the guitar. Since I have the guitar done, there's going to be a little bit more that I work on here. I'm going to end up doing the strings on the keyboard at some point, and the drums on the electric drums over there. But I think for the purposes of this video, I'm probably done creating for the evening. I may work on the rest of it, but this gives you a really good idea of my actual creative process. Here's the actual tracks. What I want to show you on here, though, just quickly, is some of these pan effects that I have. You won't be able to hear them just yet, but for the funky electronic piano, let me solo this so you can see this is kind of panning right to left, to right, to left. And I have a couple of different other pan effects in there as you go on later on. Left to right, to left to right, right to left, right to left. But I also plan on doing, there's going to be right here, this is where I'm saying, I can feel the love, I can feel the love. I'm probably going to have love pan the opposite direction. So you're going to have the vocal of love coming in from the right to the left, and the music from the electric piano going in from the left to the right. So you'll have a neat headphone effect that way. Oh yeah, those are the verses. Let me go to the chorus where got some kind of better idea here. Let's take that off of solo and put this on solo. love, I can feel the love. I can feel the love, I can feel the love. So, because of it just coming out of a speaker, you can't get the full effect there. But you could even hear a little bit of fading in and out. That'll sound a lot better sounds a lot better on the headphones going in and out. Like I said, the actual singing, the word love will be coming in and out on that as well. And it's been at least a decade since I've played around with any of this pan stuff where I'm going back and forth with headphone effects. But I'm taking my time a little bit more on this particular song because I want to learn some new things. I want to try out, these pan effects, and I really want just a really positive song. And I haven't been writing a whole lot of lyrics lately, but I have been improving as a musician. So I want to kind of learn. I want to take what I've learned recently and kind of apply it to what I've been doing. And so yeah, that's where I'm at with the song so far. So you got to see a bit of my creative process, and I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, I'm 48 minutes into the video, and I walked you through what I did, and then, I played guitar. So it's not, if you're a musician, you already know it's not an instantaneous process. Sometimes, yes, sometimes you sit down and you write it and it's ready to go, and then other times it takes a really long time. But the actual recording process, even when you know what you're doing and have a really good idea what you want to do ahead of time, takes a while. So this is mainly for the non-musicians who are just kind of interested in how this stuff happens. It's also for other musicians who maybe some of the stuff I'm saying is stuff you don't know or stuff you do know and find kind of interesting, and just want to see how I do it versus how you do it, and we can always learn from each other. So, and thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.